Tēnā koutou katoa, everybody. It is so lovely to have you here for Taming Anxiety and Finding Calm with the amazing Neave Ross-Wallace of mindwise.co.nz, and we're just so excited to have Neave here. We've been anticipating this session for weeks, and with the amazing response that we've had, we know that there's a lot of you that are very excited as well. So just before we start, welcome to you all, and a special, very special welcome to Neave. And I'd just like to tell you a wee bit about her before we get started. So Neave is a registered mindfulness teacher, a Gestalt therapist, parenting coach, and over the past 25 years she's worked in a myriad of roles: an early childhood educator, a family counsellor, adult educator, parent mentor, and a mindfulness teacher. And during this time she's also headed the telephone counselling agency Parent Line, run her own in-home preschool, worked as a psychotherapist at the Home and Family Centre and in private practice, and has delivered a mindfulness in schools program to around 600 children. She has also taught mindfulness to thousands of Kiwis over the years, and has been practicing mindfulness herself since 1992, and has an absolute passion to introduce the benefits of mindfulness to others. And that's something that we're really going to learn about from her tonight, which is so exciting. So I would just love to welcome you, Neave, and let's sort of get started. So perhaps the first question that springs to mind is, we were talking about anxiety and finding our way back to calm and a place of balance. So how does practicing mindfulness really help us to decrease that anxiety, Neave?
Well, I'm going to do a little bit of chit chat tonight, but we're going to do some practicing as well. So, we'll talk a little bit about some of the science and some of the things that happen in the body and mind, and then we'll have a go, and then you'll be able to experience it as well. Most of what I'm going to share tonight will come out of the 8-week MBSR mindfulness-based stress reduction course that I'm trained to deliver. And that course was developed by Professor John Kabat-Zinn at the University of Massachusetts Medical School, and he developed that in the late 1970s. And that particular program has 40 years of research sitting in behind it, and it is absolutely successful at treating anxiety and stress, and also physical pain. So I'm going to bring quite a bit of that in to what I talk about and what we do this evening. And you'll also see that it links in with the polyvagal theory that Beverly spoke about last time, because we are working quite directly with the parasympathetic nervous system. You can't really explain what mindfulness is, because it has so many layers and levels to it. So tonight we're going to kind of just touch in and talk about a little bit of what it's about and what it's doing. But basically speaking, mindfulness is an awareness training. So we're training ourselves to be awake and aware of what is happening for us in any moment. So it helps us notice and appreciate and receive all the goodness and, about all the wonderful things that are going on in our lives, our everyday lives, that we often don't notice or we stop noticing. So it kind of wakes us up to the beauty of life around us. But then it also enables us to notice when we feel challenged or anxious or stressed. And it gives us some very concrete ways to consciously work with these experiences, and supports us quite specifically to return to a place of calm. So practicing mindfulness really is a key in moving us from automatic reaction into that comes out of our old survival patterning. I can feel a little bit in myself as I speak now, like I'm speaking to everyone. I'm like, oh, I can feel my heart beating a little bit, but that's okay, because I know that that's just normal. And, so rather than it sort of taking me over, I can think, oh, and I can feel that, and I know how to just kind of release some of that. So it's that sort of thing. Because when we think about our survival patterning, we think like we have an experience, and then often there's a reaction that comes straight away, and that's just an automatic reaction. So we have experience, reaction, and this sets off all sorts of things in us, and we say and do things perhaps that we wish we hadn't, or we would like to be able to do something more wisely, or from a calmer place. And in our mindfulness practice, what we're doing is that we're training ourselves to notice the experience. So in that moment when something is happening, we're noticing, well, how does it feel in my body? And what's the emotion that arises? And what are the thoughts that come? So instead of experience, reaction, we go experience, and then we start to explore, well, what is my experience in this moment? And in doing that, we start to create this space and a gap. And then over here, we're much more likely to have a wiser response. We're coming from a different place. And Bev mentioned last time the upstairs brain and the downstairs brain. Well, here when we have an experience and the reaction comes, this is the downstairs brain. This is more of our survival patterning. And in our mindfulness practice, we have an experience, we watch the experience, creates a space and a gap, and the upstairs brain can come back online. And so we respond from a wiser place here. So that's just kind of a bit of a I'm a visual. You see, here I am with my hands. I'm going to do this the whole time. Apologize to anyone that this is just sort of how I picture everything. But what I'm aware of with a mindfulness practice is that we could talk about it a lot, and it sounds really fabulous, and we could link all the science in, but talking about it is not really making any difference in the body mind. And so we're interested in practicing. It's a practice, we do it. So I thought that we could start our evening by practicing together. How does that sound? Shall we do a practice? Yeah, cool. Okay, so I'll just guide us for a few minutes. So just notice how you're sitting, and if you can, just think about if you're sitting, most of us will be sitting in a chair, I imagine. You could think about sitting a little bit upright, so you're not kind of folding over and sort of slouching. So just having a sense of just sitting, you don't want to strain yourself, but having a sense of sitting upright, and then finding a comfortable place for your hands to rest on your knees or in your lap or on your chair, wherever's comfy. And then if you feel comfortable closing your eyes, well, of course, you can always turn your video off and just be so that no one else can see you. And then I'm going to invite you to bring your awareness to what it feels like to sit here in this moment. So we're starting to notice the sensations in the body. So as you do this, you might like to bring your awareness right down to your feet. And notice the sensations of your feet as they rest on the floor. Or if you're sitting on a bed, you might feel the back of your heels on the bed. But noticing the sensations in the soles of your feet. So you might notice the sensations of pressure, where your feet rest more heavily on the floor. Or you might notice the sensations of your socks on your skin, or perhaps the fit of your shoes, or maybe the fit of your slippers if you're like me. And perhaps noticing the temperature of your feet. Noticing they're warm or cold or hot. So noticing anything at all in your feet. And then giving more of the weight of your feet to the floor. So the floor is here to hold you, and you can let your feet rest heavy. And then allowing your awareness to come up your legs and noticing any sensations in your legs. You might feel your clothing on your skin, or you might feel sensations, the backs of the legs, especially the backs of the thighs where you're sitting feeling the sensations of pressure of sitting. And then seeing if you can give a little bit more of your weight to the chair. So even though we're sitting with a straight back, just allowing yourself to sink into the chair a little bit more. Because often we hold tension in the body that doesn't really need to be there. So giving the weight of your body to the chair and the weight of your legs and your feet to the floor. And then bringing your awareness to your hands and your arms and letting your hands rest heavy. So you might let the hands rest open and giving all of the weight of your hands and your arms to your lap or the chair or wherever they're resting. And then allowing your shoulders to rest. So allowing the shoulders to drop and feel heavy. So feeling the shoulders heavy and the arms heavy and the hands heavy. Giving all of your weight to the chair and the weight of your legs and your feet to the floor. And then just bringing your awareness to your face for a moment and just allowing the jaw to soften. Now, we often hold the jaw tight. So it's a sense of sort of softening the jaw or unhooking the jaw. Just letting the jaw soften and the mouth soften and the cheeks and the eyes and the eyelids. And allowing the forehead to soften. So giving all of your weight to the chair, all of the weight of your legs and feet to the floor, and the weight of your arms and hands to your lap or the chair. And then as you're ready, just starting to notice your breath. So not needing to change your breath, just noticing the natural flow of your breathing. And just notice what it feels like as you breathe in and as you breathe out. So as you breathe in, you might feel the air coming in through your nostrils and expanding your chest. And then as you breathe out, just allowing the body to soften and settle. So as you breathe in, feeling the sensations of the air as it comes in through the nose, down through the throat and expands the chest and the back of the body, and maybe the belly. And then as you breathe out, feeling the body soften and settle and let go a little bit. Feeling the flow of the air out through the body, out through the nose again. So bringing all of your awareness as much as you can to notice what it feels like to breathe. So as you breathe in, perhaps feeling the flow of the breath at the very tip of the nose, the sensations of the air as it comes in through the nostrils. And noticing the sensations as the breath breathes out. You might notice as you breathe in, the air is cooler. And as you breathe out, the air is warmer. Or you might like to settle your awareness on the chest and the back of the body. And as you breathe in, you might feel the ribs moving and expanding. And as you breathe out, feeling the body soften. You might notice the shoulders rising and falling with the breath. Noticing anything at all about what it feels like to sit here and breathe. And then just taking a moment to check in and just allowing the belly to soften. Often we hold our bellies in tight. So in this breathing practice, we can actually just soften the belly. You could think Buddha belly. Just softening the belly. And then perhaps as you breathe in, feeling the air coming in through the nose and expanding the chest and back of the body and maybe the belly as well. And then as you breathe out, feeling the body soften and settle. And then I'm going to sound a bell. So I'm going to invite you just to listen to the sound as we finish. And then as you're ready, just wriggling your toes and your fingers and opening your eyes if they were closed. And popping your video back as if you wish to be seen. And just noticing how you feel.
That was amazing, Neave. That was really amazing. And I think it's what's so interesting for me, and I love, some of the other women to share how they felt, but I didn't realize how much tension I was holding just in my sitting muscles. When you said to sink into the chair, that was it was quite an amazing difference when you focus on that.
Yeah, I can relate to that. I really have never noticed that I had that tension in the tops of my legs and my hips. Yeah.
Has anyone else got anything that they'd like to share? Feel free to unmute yourselves and make a comment about how that was for you.
I noticed that too about the legs, Joe and Neave, and I've noticed it recently when I've been driving, that I'm holding that tension there, so I'm relaxing that part of my body into the seat as I'm driving, trying to not drive, with tension in my body.
Yeah.
Without going into a meditative state, of course, that would be a little late.
Isn't it amazing when we check in and we find that we're like this, and we're like, oh, what's going on right now that I have to, be like this?
Yes, and not being aware of it until we do check in and go, oh my goodness, I'm holding all this in my body. And that was really beautiful. Thank you, Neave.
Lovely. How's everybody? Anyone else have any comments about how they're feeling now after that practice? Do you feel differently in your body?
Yeah, I start to become very aware of my posture. Like when we're prompted to sit upright, I really start to notice how my shoulders kind of tend to hunch in. And I really feel it like in my lower ribs, like almost in the middle of my back, just how tense I always am from having such horrid posture.
Yeah. It's really amazing just to do as an experiment, is to sit there and kind of crunch yourself over a bit like that and notice how you feel, and then actually sit up without sort of straining, but just to sit up and notice if your emotional state changes. Yeah, like we have a different flow through the body when we sit up. Yeah, beautiful awareness, Imogen. Yeah.
We've got some comments as well. Violet, Jenna said, wonderful feeling, thank you. Patty and Beck said they both nearly fell asleep. It was so relaxing. So
that's the problem, especially at this time. Yeah, cool. So this is the truth of it, yeah? Like, and you may have felt relaxed and calmed by that practice, or you may not have. But ultimately, the more we practice, the more likely we are to feel calm.
So sorry, I was just going to say, could you explain how becoming mindful like this, how it gets us into that state? What's sort of going on?
Yeah, well, quite specifically, what we've done is we've activated a part of the parasympathetic nervous system that is about the rest and repair. I call it switching on the calm. So we've quite consciously switched on the calming aspect of that parasympathetic nervous system. So you felt, most of us probably felt the body, settle and soften and relax a bit, and we didn't even know maybe that we were holding tension. And when we do that, we kind of allow the body to do what it knows to do. So when we switch on the calming system, the body's actually able to carry out the maintenance and repair deep at the cellular level. So that's what we've all done. We've just given the body this beautiful chance to actually do what it knows to do, and what it often can't when we're actually holding it tight and we're feeling really tense. And some of us have probably felt that flow of feel-good chemicals through the body. That's sort of the natural opiates in the body. And some of the other things that happen when you switch on this calming system is you activate the digestive system. And I think for women, this is like really important, because what it helps us to do is to digest our food, but to absorb the nutrients. Yeah, and so if anyone's working with, digestive issues, problems, chronic problems with digestion, this is a fabulous practice for that. And for me personally, what I've noticed over the years with a daily mindfulness practice is I've actually, I was in a cycle with regard to my weight where I couldn't stabilize my weight. And so I'd be going to Weight Watchers and then putting weight on again and going and da-da-da. And then when I really came into my mindfulness practice, what I noticed was that my weight stabilized, and I don't actually have to do too much about that now because my digestive system is working really well, and I am actually absorbing the nutrients that I'm taking in. And then also part of what we were doing in that practice is we were regulating our heartbeat and our breathing. And when you can learn to regulate your breathing and your heartbeat, especially the heartbeat consciously like that, it's so good for heart health. It strengthens the heart. So when the heart is beating faster, and then we can do this practice and regulate, that is what creates a healthy heart, or helps. For those of you that are interested, it is also known, when we switch on the calm, it's also known as the rest and reproduce system. So it actually makes us more fertile, so be careful if you're not wanting to have another baby. So, yeah, it's all part of helping the body do what it can do beautifully when it's allowed to. And then also, when we switch on this calming system, this aspect of the parasympathetic nervous system, it increases our immune system functioning. And so the 8-week course that I mentioned earlier, that was one of the first findings in the research around that course, was the increase in immune function. So it just enables us to fight inflammation and viruses more effectively. So it's just incredibly great for our bodies and our minds. And then also, another major aspect of practicing mindfulness is consciously moving ourselves from this thinking, doing mode of operating into our sensing and being mode. So that's what we did in that practice. So most of us, and it's because of our Western lifestyle especially, is we're always thinking and doing, which activates the nervous system. And if we don't switch on this calming system, we overactivate our nervous system. So this is what leads to anxiety, depression, all sorts of things. So what we consciously did is we came out of our thinking and into our sensing. So we just started at the feet, and we just brought all of our awareness to what we could feel. And then this switches on this calming system, because we are coming out of that thinking. Because most of us I don't know, would you agree? Most of us are overthinking.
Totally.
Yeah. Like the pace of life is set up to make us think and do and move and get it done and juggle a million things all at once. And so we're out of balance. The nervous system is out of balance. And anxiety, you know, it has that out of balance has a lot to do with our anxiety, and also we know leads to depression. So we are balancing ourselves up when we practice. I always think, I love the saying, you know, we're human beings, not human doings, but most of us are acting like we're human doings. And we, I mean, you know, the World Health Organization has said that, you know, stress and anxiety is our major challenge. We are challenged completely, and we have to do something to turn this around. And a mindfulness practice is an amazing skill to have, to be able to stop all this doing and come into the sensing, being, calming system.
So how, is there a distinction, Neave, between mindfulness and, say, meditation? Does meditation fit into mindfulness, or
Mindfulness, yeah. Mindfulness is a form of meditation. So all sorts of types of meditation, but mindfulness is very much the awareness training. Being aware of sensation, so being able to come out of the thinking and doing into the sensing and being, but then also being able to really consciously work with our thinking patterns. So these thoughts that take us down these tracks that don't work out well for us, which also activates anxiety. So a lot of future thinking activates anxiety, because our tendency is to imagine the worst. And also, if we're thinking about the future, we have no power. Our power is always in the present moment. So we can scare ourselves. I don't know about anyone else, but you know, I've had to train myself to get out of my catastrophizing, my worry about things that have never happened in my life. But all of that kind of activation, when the nervous system is out of balance, a whole lot of things happen in the brain. Would it be useful to talk about that a little bit, like brain development and what happens in the brain? Is that, do you think, of interest?
I think it would give us an insight into what's going on. I mean, we're quite fascinating creatures, but we don't always understand ourselves. So I think that would be really great.
Because I always love the science, because then I can think to myself, oh, it's great, I'm normal. You know, this is why this is happening. And then with the mindfulness practice, this is what I can do with what's happening. So if we think of, Dan Siegel has a fabulous way of explaining brain development and brain function. And he uses his hand to do this. And really, if we're thinking here, we can think about like so this sort of area of the hand is the downstairs brain, and this is the upstairs brain. So this is the more, the older brain, and let's say the newer brain. And this can be a lovely way to explain things to kids as well. But I think anything we explain to kids is always good for us as well. So if you think about this as being a map of the brain, and here down the bottom we have the brain stem, and the reptilian brain, which is our oldest part of the brain, and it's involved with the metabolic system. So it's regulating heartbeat and breathing, and the nervous system, and our temperature and balance. So the reptilian brain here, and then here in the midbrain is the limbic system, or the emotional brain. And then deep in the emotional brain lives this little thing here, which is called the amygdala. And you may have heard this bandied around, because we're kind of interested in the amygdala, because it's our security guard, and it's the part of the brain that tells us that things are dangerous, and that we've got to be careful, and we've got to look out, and we're probably not safe, and we probably should be worried most of the time. Yeah. And then over top of that is the prefrontal cortex, or the neocortex, the prefrontal cortex at the front of the brain. And this is our wise brain. And so this is the part of the brain that we are networking in children very much as they're developing. But let's be honest, we're networking it in ourselves for our whole lifetime. So in the wise brain is the part of the brain that enables us to overview a situation and understand what's happening. It's our languaging, so our ability to say what's going on. It's our ability to empathize with others. It's very much our impulse control. And it's our decision making and our moral reasoning. So from this place, we know what's okay and what's not okay. And what happens is we're having a good day when this is all networked like this, and the upstairs brain, the wise brain, is in charge. But if this nervous system gets pumped and is on fire, if you like, and there's been no switching on of that calming system, then that's what happens. And Daniel Siegel says we flip our lid. And what happens in that moment is that the upstairs brain, the wise brain, goes offline, and we're all in here. And so the heartbeat starts racing, and the breathing is probably racing, or it might be held. It's definitely not regulated. The nervous system is on fire. We might be all movement and all carry on, or we might just go into a freeze reaction. And this little fella here, this amygdala, is in charge. And basically the feelings when the amygdala in charge is, this is serious, I can't cope, and I'm not going to be okay. So we want to recognize that in our children as well. Like if they're talking like that or acting like that, probably they've been hijacked by the amygdala. And so when we're like that, there's kind of no reasoning. And when children are like that, there's no reasoning because this part of the brain is offline. And so what we're doing to network that back in is we have to start at the base, and we have to regulate the breathing and the heartbeat again. So we have to calm the nervous system. And so, as you know, we know often what we need to do to be able to do that. And our mindfulness practice teaches that absolutely. So that was part of what happened for some of us, or most of us, in that practice we just did, is we regulated the breathing and we regulated the heartbeat. And if we're working with children, we actually need to calm ourselves first before we can come in and help soothe them at that level. And then to help kind of network the emotional brain and to calm this amygdala down, really this is about acknowledging the emotions that are present. So normalizing and acknowledging whatever is being felt. And of course, as we know, this can take however long it takes. But we know that when we acknowledge and normalize someone's feelings, there's often quite a substantial reduction in the intensity of the emotion. And I always think of that saying, a problem shared is a problem halved. So we know that it can reduce the emotional reactivity by about half just by somebody else acknowledging what's going on for you, or for you acknowledging for yourself what's happening. Like, I'm upset right now. Yeah, I need to do something for myself. And then once we've kind of calmed these systems, then the prefrontal cortex can come back online, and we can make some really good decisions about what we need, and the amygdala's not in charge anymore, and we're probably moving away from feeling anxious. Yeah. So
it's just such a great description, Neave. You've really encapsulated that perfectly, and I've got a much better handle on why things might go a little bit pear-shaped sometimes. So thank you so much for that. So I just have a question around when to practice. So is it a good idea to kind of, so a regular mindfulness practice is kind of a preventative, but then we can always also bring it in, if we're having these moments of perhaps when things do go a bit offline and a bit crazy, that's when we go, okay, I really need to do this as a kind of critical response. But then we've also got our regular practice that will hopefully prevent that from happening a bit less. Is that sort of what you would suggest?
Yeah, beautifully. You've touched on both of those aspects, which are true. So daily mindfulness practice is less tendency to go to that place, which is like, I always think with mindfulness, we're like our own mental health worker. We're just kind of allowing ourselves to come back into this place where we're sort of all networked in and feeling much calmer. We're okay. We're making better decisions about what we need, what supports us, because as women, I think we're all women here, aren't we? I can say this. As women, we're just giving. We just serve, we serve our kids and we serve our families and we serve our friends and we serve our parents, and we give and we serve. And we don't always know when is enough and when do I need to receive. And so just by doing this practice tonight, some of you already noticed, holding in the body, or you're tired. It's beautiful to notice that you're tired. You can start thinking, I need more sleep, or what do I need to do to not, do I need to do less, or whatever that is. So what were the two aspects of that? There was, if you practice daily, and it can be, we know, 12 minutes a day, we know is really useful to do a practice. And then what you've done is you've set up really a patterning in yourself to be able to cope with those moments. So when that happens, you know that you've got this practice, and you sort of, you know what it feels like in the body too to be calm. And you can kind of invite yourself back into switching on the calm and feeling that experience that quite well. Yeah.
So what is so what we experienced at the start of the session, is that what you would recommend, that we just really go into that focus, that space of focus, and kind of start with our feet and move up our body? Or are there many ways of doing it? Or what are some of the ways that we can embed a practice into our daily lives?
Yeah, there's many different types of practices. So I kind of combined a couple of aspects there. So we can do what we call a body scan, which is when we systematically run through the body, feeling as much as possible. And of course, as we practice, what we notice happening is the mind starts coming in, and we start thinking about, usually for women, the to-do list. And so we can catch the thinking and bring ourselves back. So we're training ourselves to stay present and stay in this moment, rather than always kind of moving on to the next thing. And then and also incorporated in there was a breathing practice. So the breath is incredibly helpful as something to focus on, because we're always breathing. So a breathing practice, it's not like you've got to go somewhere and get something special or set yourself up in a special way. You are always breathing. And I hope you don't mind my joke, but if you're not, then you're doing something else and you're on some other journey. It's not this one, yeah? So the breath is always with us. We're always breathing. Nothing special to go and get, but we're just going to link in, because often, I don't know, what do people feel? Did you notice? No, actually, should we do another experiment? Should we do a little experiment with our breathing? Yep. Okay. So if you place one hand on your chest and one on your belly, on your abdomen, and then you can close your eyes if you feel to, or leave them open, just whatever's comfy. And then just breathing normally and naturally, just starting to feel where you can feel the movement of the breath in your body. So we're really just bringing all of our awareness to the sensations of breathing. And we're noticing Or where does the body move? So noticing the movement under your hand at your chest. And then noticing if you can feel any movement in the abdomen and the belly. And just breathing naturally and normally. So you're checking in this moment. You're just noticing your breath, noticing the movement under your hands. So nothing else to do and nothing to think about, just staying with your breath and feeling the movement in your chest, maybe movement in your belly. Okay, and so thank you for trying that. And then just noticing what happened when you did that. What did you notice? How was your breath in your chest? And could you feel your belly moving with your breath? So the beautiful thing about mindfulness is you can never ever be wrong. We're just curious about what's actually going on right now. That's our curiosity, what's happening. So I'd love to hear, what did you notice about your breathing and how was it just to connect in? And did your breathing stay the same or did it change, or what did you notice?
My breathing definitely slowed as we went on, and I've definitely felt calmer. But if anyone else would like to share, we'd love to hear from you. So please just unmute yourself and make a little comment. That would be great.
Yeah, when I started, I could clearly feel my chest going up and down, up and down. It was quite intense. And then I consciously started to calm myself down, and then right at the end, my stomach started moving. So I knew that I was going into that relaxed space, because in the beginning, the chest was just going like that.
Yeah. And you know, a lot of us are doing that shallow breathing. Now, this really contributes to building anxiety. A shallow breathing, it's an activation of the nervous system. Yeah. And how beautiful just to check in. Like, I mean, that's something we could do in any moment during a day, is put our hand on our chest. Nobody knows what we're up to, and we're just checking in. Like, well, how's my breathing right now? And then, as you said, when you just checked in, it's kind of natural. The next thing you do, if you notice that you're breathing fast, is you just start to naturally regulate. It's not like you have to make yourself do it. It just seems like, oh, okay, I'm just going to kind of take another deeper breath here. And then there's this activation of the movement in the belly, because our bodies are built to diaphragm breathe. But if you're holding the belly in, the diaphragm is not doing its natural thing. And so the belly's not expanding on the in-breath and letting go on the out-breath. And that again is another activation in the nervous system. And you know what it's like when you look at a baby lying down and they're breathing. Have you noticed their bellies? They're like, they're absolutely amazing. They're perfect breathers. If you want a bit of role modeling, just look at a young baby breathing. The whole chest and the whole belly expands on the in-breath, drops on the out-breath. And we're just really training ourselves back into that very normal, natural breath. But other people notice other things. I think someone down here was trying to come on. I'm not sure. Is it? Oh, anyway.
Has anyone else got anything that they'd like to share?
This is Patty here. I'm hiding myself because I'm in my jammies. So anyway, I've heard about. I mean, belly breathing is the one that I think I've naturally got it. But one trick is I've heard is, if you take some very heavy books, lie down flat on the ground, and put some very heavy books on your belly, and then just normally breathe. And if you do that just a couple of times, suddenly your chest breathing will just switch to your belly breathing. It's as quickly as that you can switch, is what I've learned in pranic healing. I just thought I'll share it with you guys. That's all. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. There's and it can be a lovely way to work with children as well. If you think, you know, that they're kind of holding the belly tight, which is activating anxiety in them, you can invite them to lie, and you can put like a soft toy on the belly, and then on the in-breath the belly rises and the toy rises up, and you know, it can be like a nice fun game that kids don't. I think last time, you know, and Beverly's taught people like, how do you get your kids to do this stuff though? Well, you can do fun things like that, or of course you can do it yourself. You know, we know that one of the most powerful teaching tools we have is just to model the behavior that we want kids to take up without having to say to them, let's do this. You just do it yourself. You know, you start connecting them with your breath, or you start putting your hand on your chest and go, whoa, man, I'm shallow breathing, right? Okay, I'm just gonna do a couple of deeper breaths here. Oh, my belly was really held tight. And you're just talking it out so that kids can pick up these skills in a way in which they'll do it when they're ready, yeah, rather than making it another thing that you have to do. And then the other thing is, especially with children, but really with anyone, with any of our friends, is we all have mirror neurons. So these sites in the brain that enable us to pick up somebody else's experience. So, you know, if you see someone fall over and graze their knee, or you see someone shut their fingers in a drawer, you know, go, oh no, yeah. And that's your mirror neurons firing off going, I kind of know how that feels. I can kind of feel it a bit. Well, I think as women and especially as children have really heightened mirror neurons. So we can feel each other and kids can feel us. And so our main thing really with a mindfulness practice is we're just doing it, and we're just bringing ourselves into this calm place. We're switching on the calm, which just helps them. They start to regulate to our heartbeat and our breathing. So they feel our calm. And we know that the opposite of that is true. You know, when you're on the phone and the kids start bouncing off the walls because you're no longer with them, and they're feeling maybe your excitement at your conversation with your friend. Yeah. So we can regulate kids, and we can teach them mindfulness practice just by practicing ourselves and talking some of that out. But
I was just thinking, Neave, you know, like I guess so many of us are busy women. We might be business women working, juggling families and work. So if we're just starting out on a mindfulness practice and we've got a really busy life, and we go, this is amazing, I'm going to start tomorrow, and we kind of do a mindfulness practice, and then life just, you know, gets in the way and we kind of forget to do it. How do we really embed a practice? Like, how should we start? You know, should we just set aside a regular time of the day, or what's a really good way to start so that we can start to build some good healthy habits we can continue on with?
Yeah, I think being guided is good. I think having audio. So, I mean, you know, if you want to send out the link into my website, there's free audios on there, different types of practices. I'd like to do another practice with us tonight, just a real short one. Or actually, I'd like to stay here for 5 hours and do several of them, but that's not the agreement we had. Have a day of mindfulness, and we could all just soak in for a whole day at some stage. Yeah, but certainly, you know, there's free audios on my website, and there's lots of audios around. So I would suggest listening to an audio to guide you, and then it just starts to become much more natural. And a lot of what you're doing, just remembering that it's coming out of the thinking and doing. So we're programmed into all of this thinking and doing, which is fabulous. It's fabulous that we can get these things done, that we achieve in our lives, and that we can juggle all these tasks. But we are also needing to come into the sensing and being and switching on the calming system. And so some of the ways that we can do that, I've got a sort of 3 or 4 things I'd like to talk about around that. How about, Joe, can you remind me to do the mindful minute? Because I'd really like to do that. So, but I might just look at some other things. So one of our tendencies, have you noticed, say at the end of the day, and say, you know, whatever's happened during your day, and you're talking to your friend or your partner at the end of the day, what is it that you talk about? Do you talk about all the beautiful things that happened that day? Like you got to eat 3 meals and your body feels good and the sun shone, or the car worked beautifully, or your shoes didn't leak? Or do you talk about the thing that went wrong, the thing that someone said to you, or the job you didn't do quite as you wanted to, or the tasks you didn't get finished, or the problem with someone, or your, you know, one of your friends? What do you tend to talk about? Let's do thumbs up for positive and thumbs down for more of the negative things. So you're usually talking about everything that's beautiful. Yeah, there we go. It's usually this one. Most people are going like this, if you can't see me. There's our tendency. Our tendency is to remember the bad, and this is called a negativity bias, and it's a really important part of our ancestry, is that our ancestors had a really strong negativity bias. So they remembered all the bad things that ever happened and all the dangerous things in the world. And so they didn't walk off a cliff, or they didn't get eaten by a tiger, because they remembered and stored inside of them all of the bad things that can happen. Thing is, our life doesn't look like that anymore, but the negativity bias is still working. So we are storing a lot of the time, all the negative things that happen to us. And we do that by talking about and dwelling on all the things that challenge us. And so what we can do in a mindfulness practice, because remember, mindfulness is simply about training ourselves to be aware, we can notice when we do that. And because when whatever we dwell on actually gets stored in our implicit memory, which is memory that sits just in under consciousness. And implicit memory sets up in us a feeling of how the world is for us, and how what we can expect from the world and what might happen to us. So it's kind of our sense of ourself in the world and how the world will be for us. And I talk about it as being like an invisible coat we put on every day. So if we're just in our natural negativity bias, it's like we put on this negativity coat every day where we think things perhaps are going to go wrong or not work out. And in a mindfulness practice, like a gratitude practice is a big part of that practice as well. We start to notice all the good things that happen. And they can be the smallest of things, such as not having shoes that leak, or having warm socks on, or just having someone smile at us, or I don't know. I've mentioned warm socks. That's one of my favourites because I've always got cold feet. You know, the fact that we open the cupboard at home and there's food in it, that's pretty amazing actually when you really think about it and when you really let yourself feel it. Or that we can go and get a blanket and put it on ourselves in the moment. All of these, when we start to notice all of these things, we start to build a positive implicit memory. So it's like we build this positivity coat that we put on every day that makes us feel good, that helps us relax in our body, So the more you practice mindfulness, which is training yourself to notice what's happening in any moment, you can notice when you're sitting in your car and you put the key in and you switch it on and it goes, you can go, thank you, yay. Or I've got a car, that's fantastic. Or I'm catching the bus and I live in a city that has a bus service. You know, all of those things that if we are living on automatic pilot, we just don't notice all the great things that are happening all the time. So a gratitude practice is a fabulous way to start to build this feeling of positiveness in ourselves, and also a fabulous practice for children. And you know, it's lovely. You can get a bowl or a basket and you can write something down every day and put it in the bowl, and then you can have some time where you start pulling them out maybe once a week and you read other people's good things. Because when we hear good news, it actually releases a flow of feel-good chemicals through the vagus nerve. And we know that that flow of positive emotion in the vagus nerve, which is part of this parasympathetic nervous system, we know that that strengthens all the major organs in the body. So anytime you share some good news with someone, or you feel just something about the beauty of your life, a very simple thing it can be, you're actually strengthening your whole body, and you're letting this flow of positive emotion strengthen the heart, the lungs, you know, all the major organs. So,
wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing, Neave. That explains a lot to me, because I was very fortunate to have been introduced to a gratitude practice around 20 years ago by my lovely friend Erin, who's in Scotland, and she's here with us tonight. Erin's waving. Erin introduced me to a gratitude practice about 20 years ago, and it's just such an important part of it's been a part of my daily routine for nearly 4 years now, and I believe it's probably made the most profound impact to my mental well-being, doing that every day.
Yeah, that's fabulous. Wonderful. And, you know, we've also got to have the calming system on to be able to notice all the good things as well. So like you could do a breathing practice in the morning, and then it's kind of sets you up to be present, to be in that sensing, being mode, to notice, all the good things. And we know that like 3 things a day, we know if we can come up with sort of 3 things a day that we can be thankful for. There's quite a lot of research around that.
I think learning science from you has been really so fascinating for me, because I sort of understand, I've done a lot of meditation, and so I understand on the practical level, but you've just explained so beautifully how our brains work, which I think is just so fascinating. And that can, when we understand why we're reacting a certain way we are, I think that, you know, that's just such a gift, isn't it? That really can help us then understand where we're at, and then take the steps that we need to get back onto that lovely place of calm.
Yeah. Well, we are working very much in the body and mind in the practice. So the science is interesting. Something else for children, I've got my mind jar here, which is just a big pasta jar full of water, and I've got glitter in it. So I've got foil glitter and fine glitter in here, which I just got from wherever, the warehouse probably, or the $2 shop. And what we can do with this is, you can see when I shake it, this can be a fabulous way of helping us and children describe how they feel. So say if you're feeling anxious and all sort of antsy and all over the place and kind of a bit on fire and lots of thinking going on, you can shake this jar and you can say, this is how I feel. This is what's going on inside of me. And certainly when I was teaching mindfulness for the Mental Health Foundation, this is what we use with the kids, and we'd say, do you ever feel like this? And shake it, and some kids would say, yes, my brain is actually going round and round and round like this at the moment. And then we just ask them, well, what do we need to do to make this to stop? And they would say, well, just put it down. So I said, all right, let's put it down. And so just placing that down, and then as you watch it, settle, you can just start to focus on your breathing.
It's lovely.
It's very calming, and it gives a really lovely visual for kids. And when I had my preschool, this was always available if anyone wanted to go and get it. So sometimes what would happen is a child would be upset and another child would say, Neave, go and get the mind jar for them. So we'd go and get it and we'd give it a good shake, and the kids would all just lie down on their tummies actually, and we'd all just watch that. And if you as the adult are just doing your breathing, they'll just start to link into your calm and your breath. And usually just let it, I mean, I don't know if you can see, but it's still kind of going. So it takes a wee while for all of that to actually calm down. So that can be a nice way of working with children. I think working with us as well. You can go and get your mind jar out and give it a good shake and tell your partner, this is how I feel.
I love a bit of glitter, so I can't see any problem with that at all. I think that sounds like a great idea. Oh, that's just wonderful. And so you were talking about your mindful minute. Was this a good time to perhaps do that? Or?
Shall we do this? So in this practice, I'm going to time us for a minute, and then you'll know your number of breaths. So what I'll do is I'll talk us into it a little bit, and then I've got my phone here and I can time us. And this is just another sort of tool that you can have really at your disposal. So if we come in again to a comfortable sitting position and just kind of notice, and this is the sort of thing, you can do this when you are standing at the supermarket line. Nobody knows when you're practicing mindfulness, which is the fabulous thing. So just as we sit here, just sitting comfy, and if it feels good for you, just sitting with a straight back or having a sense of being upright, just so the breath can come easy, and then resting your hands and your arms somewhere, and then closing your eyes if you choose to. And then again, let's just bring our awareness down to our feet for a moment. So bringing our awareness down to the feet and away from all of our thinking. So feeling your feet for a moment. Perhaps noticing the temperature of your feet. Feeling the sensations in the heels or the instep, soles of the feet. Maybe seeing if you can feel any sensations on the tops of your feet, or feeling the fit of your shoes or your socks, your slippers. Noticing how your feet feel in this moment. And then letting them rest heavy on the floor. And then allowing yourself to rest heavy in the chair. And then letting the arms and hands rest heavy. And then allowing the jaw to soften. And the face to soften. And then bringing your awareness to your breath. And just noticing the natural flow of your breath, the in-breath and the out-breath. Noticing as you breathe in, that the in-breath expands the body. And as you breathe out, feeling the softening and the settling. Feeling the body let go. And then what I'm going to invite you to do in a moment, when I say start, so in a moment, I'm going to invite you to count your breath. So as you breathe in, and then as you breathe out, that's counting 1. And then on the next time you breathe in and breathe out, that's going to be counting 2. So not counting yet, just getting ready to count your breath. Now on the first in breath, as you breathe in, count 1, and then as you breathe out, count 1. And then on the next in-breath, count 2, and breathing out with 2. And then breathing in, counting 3. Breathing out, counting 3. And just continue counting. Continue to count each breath in and out. And then as you're counting, just allowing that counting to finish now, and just noticing what number you got up to. Noticing how many breaths you took in that mindful minute. So just noticing that number. And then listening to the sound of the bell. Okay, and so as you're ready, wriggling your toes and wriggling your fingers, noticing if you do not want to come out of that practice, that's probably a reasonable indication that you might like to do more of this. Yeah, we may have lost some people, they may have sleep.
I can see Rebecca yawning.
And so that's just like at one mindful minute, because I don't know, do you find this? Sometimes you think you can't even stop for 1 minute. And when you really examine that thought, that's not true. You have got a minute and you can give yourself a minute. And with your number of breaths that you just took then, now you know sort of how long a minute is. So you could think of often, maybe once an hour, taking a minute and just breathing and counting that many breaths. And then you have switched on the calming system. Yeah. So one small possibility.
That is just amazing. So did you have anything else that you'd like to add now? Or shall we sort of go over to questions, Neave, and see if any of the women have got any questions for you? Would that be a good time to do that?
Yes, I do want to mention, because I do have a tendency to forget things, that on the second Monday of the month, I run an hour and a half mindful me Zoom get together for people that want to practice mindfulness. So that's another possibility.
Fantastic. And we should also mention your website, Neave, mindwise.co.nz. So as Neave so kindly mentioned, there's those free audios there. So I think I'll definitely be jumping on there and having a listen. I think that's a great way to get started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of those practices is called Wonderful Moment, and it's it uses a word pairing. So you breathe in with one word and breathe out with another word, and then those words change. And that can be incredibly helpful if you've got a super busy mind that you just can't kind of let something go. But yeah, there's some short practices and there's longer practices. Yeah, and then if anyone wants to come online and practice with others and just keep learning, there's Mindful Me is another possibility.
Oh, fantastic. So Beck, have you got any questions? She's still yawning.
You found out you're tired.
have you got any questions there from the chat, Beck?
One that Violet put out to the group chat to everyone, and she was wondering if you could speak, Neave, about thinking patterns which have come from childhood and perhaps trauma or unpleasant experiences, and how to gain control over psychological reactions such as body temperature and increased heartbeat.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we know that we get activated, you know, and so and especially from our life experiences, and we all come with a personality or a tendency as well. So I think one of the main things is to accept ourselves. So in our mindfulness practice, acceptance is a huge part of that practice, and being kind to ourselves. So no matter what we're experiencing, if we can really say it's okay, even though it doesn't feel okay, it's okay that I'm experiencing this, and I'm not going to try and fight my way out of this. I'm actually going to bring more awareness to what is happening. So with our thinking patterns, we do absolutely want to be aware of what our thinking patterns are. And often it feels like our thinking patterns have taken us over, yeah? So in a mindfulness practice, I kind of use this as another sort of model. This is our experience in any moment. So our thoughts and our emotions and our physical sensations, which are all interconnected. And in a mindfulness practice, we kind of draw this up as a triangle, and we call it the triangle of awareness. And these are the gateways into the present moment. This is what we can become aware of. And as we practice mindfulness, we sort of, awareness is like right here. And sometimes we just completely combined with those thoughts or those sensations. And then as we start to practice, especially if we practice every day, we start to build this capacity to start to sit out here and watch what's happening. And really mindfulness is about building this capacity to be awareness itself. So we're sitting out here and we're watching all of this happen, but we're not completely combined with it. So any moment that you can notice what your thinking is, you have just come away from it a little bit. You're not completely combined with it. You are aware of what is happening. And that's actually a great movement, because when you become aware of something, you have a choice. Before that, you're just in it. It's got you. So once we become aware of a thinking pattern, there's all sorts of things we can do to work with that thinking pattern. So one of the first things is kindness to ourselves. So it's not saying that we're wrong or bad or it's not okay. We're saying this is what is happening. So this is what I'm working with, and I don't have to beat myself up. This is here now. And then remember our thinking and doing, as opposed to our sensing and being, we can start to quite clearly shift ourselves into a sensing being mode, because I can't actually put all of my awareness down on my feet and say, like, I had this practice for many years where I would take my awareness down to my big toes and feel the sensations of my big toes. And I don't mean think about them, I mean actually feel them in that moment. And when I do that, I can't be thinking as well. I am sensing. Yeah. Now, I'm being simplistic because that question's actually a very big question with someone who's working with something that's serious and sizable, yeah? But it is a big part of shifting out of. So every time we do that, every time we notice a thinking pattern, we've actually interrupted it a little bit. So it's not just going on its usual track, because everything we think, say, do, and feel is a neural pathway in the brain. So it's a little highway in the brain. And if I've got this thought pattern that goes over and over and over, I strengthen it and it myelonates. It actually ends up with this little coating of fat on it that makes it strong and makes it a tendency for me to come back to that thinking pattern. But when I practice mindfulness and I notice I'm thinking that thing again, I interrupt it. And I interrupt it by maybe coming to my breath. I say, I'm going to do 3 conscious breaths right now. or I'm going to bring my awareness down to my feet and I'm going to feel my toes. And every time I do that, I've interrupted and I've weakened that neural pathway, that highway in my mind. And when I look at, my own journey, so I used to be incredibly shy, very socially anxious, very uptight, unable to sleep through the night kind of person. And when I try and look at how I've changed and kind of where I am now, I can't really see it as a linear thing that happened. But what I know is that I've reprogrammed these neural pathways, that the thoughts that used to be there, sometimes consciously, but sometimes unconsciously or semi-consciously, just don't run me anymore. They're not there. Which is, it's just amazing. It's a blessing. It's that's why I love practicing mindfulness and love sharing it so much.
Your passion is so evident, and I think everyone will agree with me that you're just amazing, and we've learned so much. And now I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I wish I'd been writing stuff down. I've got to go and write everything down when we finish so I can remember it all. You've just been
You've recorded it.
We've recorded it. Of course we have. Oh my gosh. Yay. So I'll be able to rewatch it all. Thank goodness. Because the learnings have just been amazing. And so if you were to say, give us, I don't know if it's 5 or however many, but what are the top, say, takeaways that you would like us to take away, perhaps in simple terms that we could, practically sort of go and do? What would be the things?
Do you know, I think especially for women, kindness to yourself. Whatever's going on, whatever you feel, whatever you're thinking, however you're acting, however you're behaving, if you can somehow say to yourself, I'm okay, it's okay, and I'm going to work with this. So not that I should be better, or I should be doing more, or I shouldn't feel this. All of that is incredibly destructive. So some kindness to ourselves. Okay, this is how I am right now. That's okay. Can I go and do a mindfulness or a meditation practice right in this moment? Can I just go outside and can I come into this sensing and being mode? So can I just stand outside for a minute and can I look up or out and can I see the trees and can I see the sky and can I feel the wind on me? So I'm in all of my sensing and being. And can I breathe? And, so letting the body, helping ourselves come out of this shallow breathing that we're doing often. And can I breathe? And can I say, in this moment, when I look around, am I okay? Yeah. And usually we are okay in that moment. Yeah. But if you can take up a regular practice, of course, I'd like you to come on a course, but that's the other thing. Or you can come on the monthly, Zoom meeting. But just start to make this a part of your life. It's like so respectful and such a beautiful thing to do, and so lovely when you can calm yourself, and then you can sit with a friend or you can sit with a child, and you can switch on your calming system, which is just going to help everyone around you. I think for women also, often, if this was for one of your children, you'd go and you'd do it straight away and there wouldn't be any question about it. But when it's for you, there's a tendency to put everyone else in front of you. Well, actually, when you practice mindfulness daily, you are doing this for everybody that you interact with. Anyone you pass on the street, you interact with in a shop, the people that live with you, the people you work with, you are doing this for everyone. So
that's a lovely way of putting it, Neave. And I guess, the big elephant in the room that we haven't really addressed is, of course, COVID, and that's adding another layer of potential, stress and anxiety for people as well, isn't it? Are you sort of noticing, more people coming to you with perhaps issues around that in your practice?
Yeah, I think probably because we're all in this together, we kind of, there's something about that we're all experiencing. And mostly what I've noticed in the beginning, people were really, you know, this one here, the old amygdala was absolutely in charge, and it was all about, you know, the whole world's going to disintegrate, or all of our economies are crashing, and everything that went on in the supermarket, that was all driven by the amygdala, by the security guard, by the panic kind of merchant. You know, the fear of not having food, and the fear of not having enough. And how many times Jacinta said to us, there's plenty of food, there's no need to go and buy all these things. You know, it was hard to stop. So we were all activated. But what I've noticed is that because we've been locked down, most people have actually enjoyed their time, because there's been time to be and just to notice. And the weather was so beautiful. We were just graced with that weather, weren't we? And then we were enjoying the weather. So actually we all just kind of opened a little bit. Well, many people did. But of course, I think would it be true to say we have some awareness that in this country we are so beautifully cared for, that's actually, you know, helped a lot of us.
Absolutely. And just before we wrap up in a couple of minutes, has anybody else got any questions that they'd like to ask Neave? Feel free just Sandra, have you got a question, my dear?
Yeah, Neave, I have someone who's just started coming to see me with very debilitating anxiety. A lot of the things you've said here will be very helpful for him. I'd also like to point him to your website. Is there anything in particular that I would point him to perhaps help him, and also to give him your name? Are you all right with that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Of course, I do see people one-on-one. So, yeah. I think that word pairing is often really lovely because it engages the mind, and we know that anxiety is often produced when we think, when we focus on thoughts of the future, and then negativity bias runs in there, and it's usually that bad things are going to happen. We're not usually thinking, so exciting, I'm probably going to win lotto next week, and you know, I'm probably going to get my dream job, and it's often not quite as positive as that. So yeah, but care of our thoughts, the breathing practice, the word pairing, there's a body scan. It just depends. I mean, I think once you start practicing, you tend to, I mean, also we do mindful movement. There's a big part of mindfulness practice is to do mindful movement, which is again training us to notice sensation and be in the body, because most of us are cut off about here, and we're aware of all of this thinking, and we don't really live in our body or with a great awareness of our body, and yet our body is giving us information all the time about what's going on in the environment for us and how it is. And there's a great wisdom in our bodies when we connect to living more mindfully.
Yoga is very good for that, because it's sort of, you've got that beautiful mind-body connection. I find that I go into quite a meditative state when I practice my yoga as well, and definitely feel more in tune with what's happening.
Yeah, yoga is definitely a mindfulness practice.
Yeah. Oh, that's just great. Beck, did you have anything to add, my dear? Rebecca, did you have anything to add?
No problem. Oh, look, I love this stuff. After the earthquakes, I worked, Beverly was my manager, and we did this work with children, and it was just amazing. And then when I became a mum, and of course, you know, we're talking about that kind of that young system, you know, and we have this mature system. It was so good that I'd done that with children and I'd learnt it. And I realized that I had to hit my system, my mature system, had to be calm.
Yes.
I could feel it, that they could feel it.
Yes.
that we would be connected and that they would learn to calm. So becoming a mother made me do it more, because again, we're women. We look after everyone else first, don't we? But you have an obligation, to keep ourselves in check and look after everyone, and that helps look after everyone, and I think that's really important.
Yeah. It's probably a good saying for your mirror, isn't it? Write it up on your mirror. When I look after myself, I'm looking after everybody else. Yeah.
Say to mums, if you're not okay, they're not okay.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's great. Well, I urge everyone to go and visit mindwise.co.nz. I can't wait to go on there and try all these practices. And I guess it's something too, trying things out and then just seeing which ones resonate as well. Perhaps, Neave, I guess some of the practices will be, resonate more with some people than others, I would imagine. But I guess it's just finding what works for you. Would that sort of be?
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're working on specific challenges, there's always the 8-week course, which is life-changing. If you've got some stuff going on, some patterning going on that you have been working with. I mean, I worked as a psychotherapist for many years, and what I've seen happen in those 8 weeks is like about 2 years of therapy sometimes. It's just the changes, because it's so specific about our thinking patterns and being okay and learning to deal with the sensations that occur in the body, the feelings that are arising. Just beautiful, good, solid skills for life, really.
Oh, that's just amazing. Well, look, thank you so much. Your time has been so precious and such a gift, and we're just so grateful to you. Thank you so much. And I'm sure we've just all learned such a great deal. And so, as I said, mindwise.co.nz is the place to go to get even more information and to do some wonderful practicing. And and this recording will go up on our Facebook page in a few days, so you're able to watch back again as well if you'd like to. And I think it would be neat if we could in some way share some of our experiences perhaps over the next couple of weeks as we introduce some of the practices that Neave has talked about. So maybe Beck and I might come up with a little cunning plan of how we might be able to do that, maybe start a wee group or something, and if you're interested, and then just share how we're all getting on. That could be quite fun. So but unless anyone else has got anything else to share.
Me.
Oh,
Janet.
Hi, Janet.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you so much. I think many of us are privileged to have you and have Bex and have Neave with sharing so much beautiful and amazing experiences and knowledge to help our lives. So I just want to be grateful, practice gratefulness and say thank you.
Oh, thank you, Janet. We're so grateful for you as well.
Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, thanks everybody. So I think we should probably finish by giving Neave a big clap for your amazing talk tonight. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And we look forward to hopefully seeing you all next time when we have Sahila in about 3 weeks, delivering the Thriving in the Post-COVID World, which will be another fascinating session in our winter workshop series. We're just so grateful to all of the amazing women who are so generously donating their time to come and help us all to learn and be better. So thank you so much, and thank you once again, Neave. It's just been an absolute privilege to have you with us, and we're really grateful to you.
Well, I finish with a poem.
Oh yes, love that.
Why not? Okay. This is called Tasting Mindfulness. Have you ever had the experience of stopping so completely, of being in your body so completely, of being in your life so completely, that whatever you knew and what you didn't know, that what you had been and what was yet to come, and the way things are right now, no longer held even the slightest hint of anxiety or discord? It will be a moment of complete presence, beyond striving, beyond mere acceptance, beyond the desire to escape or fix anything or plunge ahead. A moment of pure being, no longer in time. A moment of pure seeing, pure feeling. A moment in which life simply is. And that isness grabs you by all of your senses, all of your memories, by your very DNA, by your loves, and welcomes you home.
Oh, wow, that's beautiful. What a lovely way to finish. Thank you so much, Neave. And we look forward to hopefully seeing you all again soon. And once again, just thank you so much, Neave. This has been amazing.
Thank you. My pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for everybody for coming as well. It's just been lovely to have your presence, your collective presence, and I think our lovely collective, beautiful, calm energy after the practices that we've experienced tonight as well. So thank you so much again to everybody as well. It's been really wonderful. So hopefully we'll see you next time.
Thank you, Jo.
Thank you.
Later.
Lovely to see everyone. Beautiful.
Bye. Thank you. See you. Oh, that's amazing. Yay. Oh, I can stop. I'll push